Hey everybody, it is Sam with Nexus Workshop, and I am here to show you guys the Nexus Ultimate Prop Controller. Specifically, today we're going to be looking at some RFID games and a bunch of different ways we can do that. This controller is very cool because we are able to control multiple RC522s, so I can actually control up to 6 of them that I've tested on this board. I've tested them with cable up to about 6 feet of Cat5e cable. So you're not going to get across the room, but you can get reasonably within a pretty big prop or a big thing on a wall or something like that. If you did need to go across the room, that's where you would have multiple controllers with them distributed, and then you could actually send that information across the network back and forth to them to kind of relegate it back to one of them, which would be acting as the brain. A lot of cool options there, but with one controller, if they are close enough to each other, you can handle, like I said, up to 6, which is really awesome. Here, a little bit different than some of the other videos. I have already hooked up some of the stuff, but we're going to go through the rest of the build out of the logic and processing, how we handle RFID within the Nexus Ultimate Prop Controller. Now, I'm not really going to focus on the output of the puzzle. You'll see what I mean in a second here, but we're just going to kind of knock out what I can do with RFID. And this is full-blown RFID, so I can tell not only has a tag been placed, I'm not just learning, yes, this item works, but which tag was placed, where when I have multiple readers, which can be really awesome when you have a bunch of like big statue games, or you're going to see some really cool stuff with collections, things like that later on. Here we are inside my prop controller. So this is the interface, and I'm going to look inside my input section real quick and see that I have my RFID readers all hooked up. Like I said, I have 6 of them connected to this controller right now. When I add the first one, I get my SPI bus. So that's going to be my clock, my MOSI, my MISO. Each of those takes a pin, and those are shared between all of them. When I add my first one, I'm also going to get my reset pin, and that's also shared with all the others. You can see how it's grayed out here on them. But those 4 pins are all shared and just wired in parallel, and then each one has a single chip select pin that I actually need to drive it up and down. As I do that, that's how I'm able to get away with my 6 on this one board, and I still have 1 pin left right now. Right now on this setup, I didn't hook up a relay or lights or anything like that. I just have the RFID, and we're just going to be looking at our states. So my definitions here, I have an armed state and a solved state, and that's what all we're going to do is in the operator page, we're going to watch as we solve and unsolve our puzzle right there. So the first thing we're going to do to actually get going with RFID is once I added one of them, I got this RFID tag sets section down here inside of definitions. So I'm going to define my tag sets. Inside of here, I'm going to create a new tag set, and I'm going to call it statues. Right now, I'm just going to match by the UID. So every RFID tag has a UID on it that is unique to it. We're going to talk a little bit later about a potentially better way to do this that I like more, but right now we're just going to use the UID. And we're going to see how it's easy to create a replacement tag if you needed to. Right here, I have defined out that, or by default, RFID 1 was my reader for learn and write. And I'm going to start defining these tags. So I'm going to call this first tag cat, and then I'm going to learn it. So let me learn that tag. There we go. This is cat. And now I'm going to create a new tag, and I'm going to call this one dog. And I'm going to learn that tag. Here we go. Let's learn it again. There we go. Dog. So dog, cat. I got my 2 tags programmed. Now I'm going to go, let's just look at that. So over here on the operator page, we can see my readers there. And then I can see that if I scan my cat tag, there it gives me that UID, which is what it had before I defined a tag. And then here, if I scan this one, it's going to read as dog. If I scan this one, that's not written anything or stored anywhere, it's just going to give me the UID of it. So I can still do other tags, but these 2 have that little friendly name, so I can know, hey, this is the statue that was placed there. Awesome. Now let's make it do something. So I could come in and I could just build an action trigger that just says, here, we'll add an action trigger, and I could just say, hey, it's an RFID tag set. When the cat is red, go to solve. Instead of doing that, I'm going to go ahead and make a little statue game where I'm going to say these 2 tags have to be placed on these 2 statues in the right place. So let me delete this. I'm going to go logic rule. I add a logic rule, and I'm going to call it solve. And it's going to match all conditions. This tag is on that statue. This tag is on that statue. My type is going to be an RFID tag set. It's coming from my statues group, and it's looking for cat. Now, I could actually have it trigger off any RFID reader. So I could say, you need to have all of these statues, but I don't care what pedestal they go on. Or what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say the cat has to be on RFID 1. And then I'm going to copy this. And I'm going to say the dog has to be on RFID 6. And I'm going to do RFID 6 because that's what's next to 1 down here on my board. So I've got those two. Now I'm going to go ahead and build another rule. And this is going to be a fun one. I'm going to build this rule, and it's going to be called reset. And when do I want it to reset? I'm going to have it reset when my logic rule solve is false. So now if the two of them are on their correct places, it solves. And if the two of them are not on their correct places, could be one of them's missing, could be they're on the wrong place, could be there's something else in that place, don't care. If it's not that exact situation, then that one didn't solve. So we reset. Nice and easy. Let me check this. Looking good. I'm going to come back to my operator page. Quick little cut here because I forgot to actually make the thing do a thing. So here in logic rules, we just created our solve and our reset rules. Now we need to make them do something. So what we're going to do is create an action trigger here. I'm going to call this one solve. And that is going to trigger off of my logic rule solve. And that's going to set state to solved. Real straightforward. Now I'm going to take this other one. I copied that over. I'm going to call this one reset. It's going to trigger off the logic rule reset. And it's going to set the state back to armed. Nice and easy. Now I'm going to come over to my operator page. And we can see that I am armed. So my state up in the top left there, I'm in armed. We can see that that's because I'm reset, because my solve is not true. Neither of my tags are where they need to go. So I'm going to take cat and put it on reader 1. We can see that that went nice and green there. I'm going to put dog on reader 6. Boom. And we can see that I'm in solved. As soon as I lift one of them up, now I go back to armed. We can also see what happens if I put them backwards. So I go backwards there. We can see that I'm not solved, but also over my input modules, I can see that it's because RFID 1 has dog and 6 has cat. So I can see what's going on. I can also see if I put cat on one of them and I put snake on another one. I didn't actually put it in my tag set, so it's just a UID, but we can see that I've got a tag there, it's just not the right one. So from that, we have a lot of debug information to help our players get what they need, and I can say, hey, you have all the statues, but they're in the wrong order, or whatever that is. So let's take this another step further. Let's go from here, and the next thing we're going to do, let's see, let me go check my notes. Right. So the next thing I'm going to do, I talked about the fact that the way we defined these was with a UID. So I said the UID of this card is cat, the UID of that card's dog. That's great. If I lose this cat, I could come in and I could say learn tag, learn this new one. Great. I just replaced it. Now I have this one. This one's now cat for all purposes. But what if I want to have both of them available at the same time and or do maybe more clever things with them? And one of the cool things you can do here is I can go by a block. I can write things to the card. And so this is basically, instead of basing myself off of what the card was, I can tell the card what it is. And so to do that, I'm going to go match using, change that to data block. Now the block is defaulted to 4. There are multiple blocks you can write to, so you could actually do some really insane stuff with this. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come in here to cat, and I'm going to go ahead and put my tag value to be the same, just to make this easy for me. And it says I'm ready to write. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hit write and tap this. It said successful, so now this one is cat. And I'm going to take this second tag, and I'm going to click write. I'm going to put it there. Oh, it failed. Write again. There we go, successful. So now I have 2 cat tags. And I'm going to write my dog. There we go, successful. So now I have 2 cat tags and a dog tag, and I was able to make all of those pretty easy. I can make my duplicates, just they're ready to go, toss it in the room, and I don't have to go into my system and learn anything. It's whatever. Now, I do need to, when I change my rules around like that, I do need to come in and make sure that I actually am selecting the right thing here. So I'm just going to switch those over. But I should be good now if I come back over here. I should be able to say cat is right there. And then dog is right there, and I'm solved. Now I can take this cat, I'm going to put it over here, and pick up this cat, put it there, and I'm solved. So now I have multiple tags, multiple sets. And again, I can also do some cooler things with that, but that's how I would suggest you do it, is use those data blocks, just write your tags, makes it really quick and easy. Now, the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna do what's called a collection. To do a collection, we're gonna come in here to behavior, and we're gonna create one. So we have this new section, collections. I'm gonna hit add collection. And what I'm going to do with this is call it statues. And I'm going to tell it which readers do I care about. And I'm going to actually let it be on any of the readers. So I have 6 different readers connected up, and I'm going to say they're all available. And it's going to ask me to add my items. So it already picked one that's from my tag set. It picked cat. Now I'm going to come and I'm going to pick dog. So I have 2 items in this collection, and I have 6 different places where they could pop up. I could also do the inverse if I could say I have way more and don't need as many of them or something like that. So I'm going to say required is 2. Actually, no, here. Yeah, required is 2. So I now have, I need 2 of my items, and I have only 2 items. So I do need both of them, but they can be on anything. Now I'm going to come up here to my logic rules, and I'm going to change my solve. Instead of looking at those tag sets, let's change that, and we're going to look at my collection variable. And we're going to look at my collection variable, my statues collection, and it's looking at the met. So instead of looking at the count, I'm going to look at met. If I look at the count, I can explicitly define the count I care about and do things with that. You can see I can also do the delta when it increments, when it decrements, which can be really useful for feedback and building very intense things. But if I do met, then it's looking at where I said that threshold or that required was. I told it, no matter how many items you have, you need 2. 2 is success. And now I can say met and true. So I'm good here. And then again, my reset is just when this rule isn't true. Another thing to look at in collections is I can also use this retain checkbox. What that means is once it sees a tag, it will keep that in its count. So you could keep doing it. So I could basically take, if I had my whole set and I had 1 reader, it's like you have to get these 4 different idols and put them on the thing. I could take them one at a time, put them there, take it off, put the next one, and it could be counting it as it goes with something that resets it later in the game. So you can have a lot of fun with that. Collections have a lot of power in what you can do with them. You can look at not only the total count, but you could also have something else that's looking at which ones are used. So you could use that to take multiple solves or multiple paths, or look at you got 3 of the 7 items, but what did you need to do with that? You could also have the count matter, but not be an explicit requirement. So your requirement is 3, but they could get up to 5, and that could do different things within the room, because you can take all those things and refer to them as internal variables in other things. All that to say, collections are super powerful and super unique to how this controller handles things. Now, we're going to go ahead and take a look at our collection in action. So we're over here on my operator page, and you can see my new collection section right down here. It's telling me that I'm unmet. I do not have what I need. And what do I have? 0 of 2. Giving me some other information about where they can go, how many I need, all those things. And then down here are the items. It's telling me what I need to collect. I need a cat and a dog. I can put a cat on one of them, a dog on another one of them, and it goes solved. Now, a fun little bit is if I've got my cat on one, I put my snake on something, doesn't work. If I put my second cat, so let's take this one off. I have 2 cats. I'm going to put my cats on reader 5 and reader 6. There you can see they're both cat. That's still 2 of my items, but it's not both items. Doesn't count, doesn't work. So you could use that for some fun with different explicit ones. Again, dog on 4, cat on 1, and solved. RFID has so much potential within escape rooms and so many different things. It's always been kind of a pain in the butt, and I'm really excited to take a look here at some very deep use cases where you can think about what you want the players to do and think a little bit less about how you're going to actually code the dang thing. With that, if you have any questions, we would love to hear from you either here or in our Facebook group. We'd love to answer anything you have, and keep making cool things.